I put it out there. And I have to say, what I really hope people get from the books, young girls especially, is that they read it, and if they don't like it, that they're challenged and they do something better. That just to read it and say, oh, this is good, that's sort of empty consumption, but to challenge it and say, oh, I could do what Michele does, and they'll do it, then there'll just be more and more, you know, surnames, Spanish surnames, you know, by women. So that's a goal of mine.
In the last couple of years, perhaps, you have literally moved from one coast to the other and are stationed in New York. How has that changed you, and why did that happen? You're coming to New York City.
Well, I grew up reading so much about New York City. As a young girl, all those young adult novels took place in New York. And so when I finally had the opportunity being I could make a living via my computer, where do I want to live? You know, as much as I love the beach, I love New York. So when I moved here, it was very nostalgic. I literally get teary-eyed, you know, because I'd be walking down streets that my favorite characters from a Judy Blume book, or, you know, Louise Fitzhugh, her characters, Harriet the Spy, you know, the subways they would take. I was suddenly them.
But distance from the place once called home can also create a fracture. One is not there anymore. Does that make Oxnard seem different? Your experience in California altogether taste different? Fake?
No, it's so much more truthful. And I have to say, when I moved from Oxnard to Los Angeles, 1 hour difference, but miles and attitude away, I wrote more about Oxnard. Now that I'm living in New York, I'm tending to write more about Los Angeles, where I lived almost 10 years. I went home for the holidays, and that was such an immense feeling for me, because I think I do need the distance to really see the beauty. Because every day seeing the beauty, you take it for granted.
There's a poem that you have called Mi Problema, about being put to test for not speaking Spanish as a Chicana. Tell me about your relationship with the languages, Spanish and English, with your fear or your uncertainty about Spanish, not being able to assimilate it into your own identity. Tell me a little bit about language and you.
Well, language and I have a sort of quarrelsome relationship. No, I'm constantly, it's always assumed that I speak Spanish fluently. And it always irks me because I'm fourth generation Californian and American, yet a third generation French person isn't berated for not speaking French, you know. But I think it's because of what I look like, or maybe what I owe my heritage, I should speak it. And I speak it, but I think because I always take so much pride in my language or my, you know, my work, I want to be perfect. So I do tend to get shy. You know, I tend to get shy speaking. It is my second language. So I tend to speak it less, and I speak the one I feel I have more command of. I think like anybody.
But more, and also more than a writer, you like to perform your pieces, to bring them, to make them come alive in front of an audience. What is that contact with the audience? What does it make you feel once you read a text in front of it? Why not simply deliver the text and move out of the picture?
I really want them to be in there with me. I want them to know how someone's speaking, or their dialect, their syntax, something. I really want that. And I know for myself, when I've gone to see writers whose books I've loved and then have gone to see them read, it creates sort of a barrier. It's just, I had my own voice, and then, well, gosh, now I'm thinking maybe it's not a good idea. Because if someone has their own voice or idea, then they see me, it sort of is my interpretation.
Yeah.
And I do want, gee, thanks, Illan. I'm going to just eliminate it all.
No, I actually like it very much. And you even have produced a CD.
Yes, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I have to say, the CD was produced in that particular manner, a spoken story with sound effects and guest actors and authors doing voices, sort of like an old radio drama. And my father was a janitor at the public library for years, so the biggest treat we received as kids was my father coming home with stacks of LPs, these spoken stories. And both my parents worked so much. I don't have any recollection of them reading a bedtime story for me, but I do remember, that record being put on the record player, and then I would hear, Arabian Nights, and hear the voices and the sounds, and it was just so magical. So when I made that CD, I wanted that same, I wanted the music, the sound effects.
Texture.
Yeah, the loncharia with everyone cutting up the carnitas. Yeah, definitely.
Are you a model for Chicanas? Is your audience a Latino audience? Is your audience much broader than that? Is it mainly the girls that you've been talking about? Is it across across ages, across genres? How do you see your connection with the audience?
Yeah, I have written pieces, children's fiction for the LA Times, so I feel I have that connection with the younger audience. But then I do pieces for NPR, like Morning Edition and All Things Considered, so then I have that type of audience. I would say most letters I get from young girls of color, young Chicanas or Latinas. And I'll get the once in a while a letter from someone who's like, I'm a white male, but, and then I'll follow up with some connection they had with my work. And that makes me feel, again, it's a universal subject, that I'll use. And again, I happen to be Chicana.
In hoping to have an impact on them and change them, as you said, hoping that more names like yours would be in the bookshelf in libraries.
Yeah. I'm always being told that I'm very much like one particular Latina author, and I hear it so much. I'm like, gosh, how can I be like this one particular author? We're different in age, region, style, yet I think that's all anyone knows who to grasp for.
Yeah.
That's the one name that's out there.
Who's that name?
Sandra Cisneros. Yeah, and I even told her this. I go, Sandra, they always, they write me checks, Michele Cisneros, Michele Cisneros, and she'll say, and she says, oh, I am so sorry for that, but until there's more,
Is that also part of being fake? Being like somebody else?
No, not at all. Hey, they cashed a check. It's very real.
Michele, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you very much.
Listen to a reading by the author. Download a program transcript. Find out more about La Plaza. Go to wgbh.org/La Plaza.